If you are new to this channel, which should be about 200 of you, I think, because that's how many new subscribers I got from my video about Aaron Tveit singing Epiphany. First of all, hi, welcome. My name is Mateo Chavez-Lewis. Second of all, you may not know this, but I'm a professional musical theater writer, and every week I post a video here on the channel where I go over the stuff that I've been writing throughout the week and kind of talk about why I made the decisions I made and what I'm hoping the audience will get out of the thing that I've written. And then you get to write in the comments if I'm doing a good job or not. If the things that I've written are communicating the things that I want them to communicate or not. So thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on these songs. I have two big things to share with you today because there have been kind of two big projects that have come to a culmination this past week for me. So the first one was last night. I had a full table read of my musical Tommy Rhodes. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you will have already heard me talk about this. I got a bunch of my friends together. We all sat around and had like a potluck. Everyone brought snacks and we read through the score and the script. And it was, I gotta be honest, like a really awesome experience for me. It was a triumphant experience, honestly. Like, actually, the fact that I've gotten to the end of this journey where I have this show that's like really close to fully done. The script is fully done. I'm almost done all the piano arrangements. And to actually have it read out loud by a bunch of people for the first time and to see people reacting to it in the way that I really hoped that they would, it's just been amazing. I'm feeling really great about this show. I'm really excited to share it with people more in the coming months. A friend once told me that technique is what you learn in order to make what you do match your taste. Like, everyone is born with a taste, with what they know is good or not good and what they like to see in art. And basically learning to be better at your art is just learning to make things that match your own standards. And I think this show, for the first time, I feel like I've written something that truly matches my own standards. I've written something that I look at and I go, this is actually a musical I like. And it's a huge, like, milestone for me, and I'm really proud of it. So I'm going to be sharing one of the songs from that with you today. It's a song that I only just finished the piano arrangements for. I didn't even finish transcribing the last like couple bars of the arrangement, but I finished recording the demo, so you can check out the demo in the link at the link in the description. It's called Justice, and it's this massive number that takes place in the second half of the show at the courtroom where all the townspeople are all kind of biased against Francis, because it's the two people who are facing off in court are Leslie and Francis. That's kind of all you need to know in terms of context. But the whole town is biased against Francis, and they're slandering her character. And also, she can't afford to hire a lawyer, but Leslie can afford to hire a lawyer. So it's this super biased court case, and it goes on for 12 minutes. It's a 12-minute long song. So it's this monstrosity that I finished writing finally this week after working on it for like a month. And the other thing is a high school program that I every year get hired to write a song for this group of high school performers. So I'm going to share that with you as well because that show is today. So let's dive in. We've got a lot to cover, so we'll move super quickly. Thank you so much, by the way, for being here for these little update videos. I really appreciate everyone who clicks on these videos. I mean, I know it's not the flashy Aaron Tveit kind of video that everyone wants to click on. So if you're here, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time and for your interest in my work and what I do. This is Justice. Ta-da! So it starts with this very strict 4/4. There's a little bit of an introduction from Charlotte, who's like the narrator character, and then we kind of go down we start in D minor, and we already, before the song proper even starts, we go down to C minor, so it's like we're going down almost underground to this courtroom. Even though it's not literally underground, it has the feeling of being in hell. The lawyer has, "Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?" And then the first witness, Ruth, kind of echoes. So there's this little canon with that oath that they're swearing. And then we start introducing the main theme. Now, when I was faced with the task of writing this song, I knew that I had like 7 characters who all needed to testify in this courtroom. And so what I didn't want to do was write a song that had the same verse 7 times. You know what I mean? I didn't want that much repetition because I thought that could get really boring. Listen, 3 verses, amazing. 4 verses, pop off. 5 verses, that's too many. 6 verses, 7 verses, that gets really boring really quickly. But I had an idea for how to make it feel like all 7 sections were interwoven, even though they were each their own distinct section and they could each be written based on the characters. So there's this musical called Curtains. It was one of the last musicals by the legendary writing duo Candor and Ebb. It's about a murder mystery that happens backstage at a Broadway musical. That context isn't really important. What's important is that there's a song called In the Same Boat, where they realize that they have these 3 different songs that were all written to the same orchestra part, and if they all fit with the same orchestra part, that means they all fit with each other. And that's actually harmonically totally true. If you have a melody that's written over an A major chord, for example, da 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 da, right? Then I write another melody over an A major chord, da 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 da. Then all of the notes of all of those melodies sound good together. They don't clash. So it's true, if you write a bunch of different melodies all to the same chord progression, they end up all fitting together quite well. So that's what I decided to do for justice. I gave every character a verse that has a completely unique melody based on what the character has to say and the emotional content of that. For example, Ruth is saying how she saw this man who's standing trial hit the boy and kick the boy. And so she's got this like dotted 8th, 16th note, like very marching rhythm. I saw him hit the boy. I saw him kick the boy. And then later on we get Bill and Ethel who sing about the character of Leslie Rhodes, to show that she's such a lovely person and she would never tell a lie. And that music is very like legato. And compared to this, it's very like lovely and flowing. And this is very strict, marcato, that kind of feeling. But even though the feeling of the music and the vibe of the music is totally different, it has the exact same chord progression, which is this. It's the 4 minor 6. When I'm talking about this is all in like numerical analysis. So for the music theory nerds out there, you'll know what this means. Otherwise, just follow along, sit there and look pretty. We'll be with you in a second. It's 4 minor 6. And then it's 1 minor add 9. Then it's the dominant, so 5 7. And then flat 6, major 7. And then we go 1 minor over flat 7, and then 6 diminished 7. And then we have the flat 2, major 7, and the dominant, so the 5 7 flat 5. So it's a weird chord progression, a scary chord progression. It's got all of these like all of these dissonances built into it. This is a diminished 7 chord, which is famously like a very dark and scary chord. And then we go to this flat 2, which isn't even in the key signature. And then this dominant flat 5, which is so much more dissonant. Like it's just a very dissonant and dark chord progression that represents how dissonant and dark the air is and how tense the vibe is in this courtroom. So we have that chord progression that links all of the verses together, which means that the verses can actually take on very different characteristics and still be linked together harmonically. Like I said, here we've got all of these like da 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 kind of rhythms. We've got those little dots, which means staccato, right? And then this is the chorus, and we'll get to that in a second. But then I want to show you this part where Bill and Ethel sing the same thing, or sing to the same chords, but it's totally different. And you can just see by looking at it, it's more flowing. There's no dots, right? That means staccato, da 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 da, as opposed to right. So it's the same chords. We've got the 4 minor 6, although there's no 6 in it, but that's a small detail. Then we've got the 1 minor, then the 5/7, then the flat 6 major 7. So it's the exact same chords, just played in a totally different way, and that gives it a totally different character. And so the chords kind of represent the setting. We're all in the courtroom, so they're all testifying on the stand, and so they all have the same chords, but the content of what they're saying is different. And so the content, if you will, of the chords, the way that they're played is different for each character. What that allows us to do is have them all overlap. So we start that here with Bill and Ethel, because they're both saying very similar things, where they're both saying how great Leslie is, so they get to overlap first, and they can happen at the exact same time. And if you listen to the demo, you'll hear this. Both of their melodies happen at the exact same time to the chords, because they were both written to the same chord progression. It works perfectly. Then we have all the women kind of shame Francis here to a very like urgent version of the same chord progression. Now we're in F sharp minor, but this is still the 4 minor 6 going to the 1 minor, etc., etc. So again, same chord progression, the vibe changes. Mayor Clydesdale is very proper and very full of himself, so he gets these little, just these little tiny staccato hits from the orchestra, and otherwise it's just his voice because he loves the sound of his own voice. Again, different vibe, same chord progression. So everybody has a different vibe and the same chord progression, a different vibe and the same chord progression. Here, all the townspeople sing about which identity they think the boy is. That's kind of what they're all at court to figure out, is whether this boy is Tommy Rhodes or Patrick Edwards. They're trying to figure out his identity. It's a long story. I think I explain it in week 2 of my musical theater writing updates. Check out that video if you want to know the whole story of Tommy Rhodes. But again, we have them singing to the same chord progression here, so that finally, in Justice Finale, we can have them all overlap in a section of total chaos. So Ruth is singing her part about, I saw him hit the boy, I saw him kick the boy, right? Bill, meanwhile, is singing, the Rhodeses are God-loving people, like he sang in his section. Minnie and Leslie sing their section. Clydesdale sings his section. They all overlap to the point where there's 5 all singing over top of each other at the same time. And then finally, we resolve to the chorus. So the other part of this, other than the overlapping sections, which I've been introducing, that are each of the witnesses' testimonies, the other thing is that a lot of these people have also come in with a version of this chorus, which goes, justice, I call for justice, something, 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 something. There's different lyrics every time, but in this final version, everybody sings it at the same time. We've got the sopranos wailing all the way up on this B flat, and the tenors obviously are justice in full operatic voice. Like, it is a huge epic moment for Mo, and the piano is like da da da. It's hugely dramatic, and the reason that arrival is so satisfying is because everybody's singing in unison here, right? Everybody's on a B flat. There's no chords. We spread out into a bit of harmony later, but at this moment of resolution, no chords. It's just those B flats, and hear just the Fs. So there's no harmony. It's all the same note in octaves, which is so satisfying after we've heard all of this overlapping stuff. So it's like overlapping. Everyone is saying their own thing, but what they're all saying is justice. Give us justice. It's all of these different ideas that all come together summed up in this one word. And also, it's even more of an arrival because we recognize it, because we've heard this justice, but justice theme like 7 times throughout the show in small chunks. So it's a familiar theme that we know. It's coming back now at the end to bring together everything that everyone's been talking about. So that is how, and then here's the part of the piano arrangement that I have not written yet. Well, I wrote it. It's in the demo. I just haven't transcribed it yet, so I don't have the sheet music for it. But this is what a half-finished sheet music looks like. But you can listen to the demo. All like 12 minutes of this song are there, including the dialogue in between, so you can get a big chunk of what the second half of Tommy Road sounds like at the link in the description if you want to listen to it. Sorry, I thought there was a spider on my ceiling, but it's just like fluff. Anyways, that is Justice. So that is one of the things that I wanted to show you today, and we are already 16 minutes into the video, so thank you so much if you're watching this. The other thing that I wanted to show you is this. So One Song Glory is a high school program run by the Musical Stage Company in Toronto. It's been going for many, many years, and it is a fantastic, fantastic professional training intensive. One of the best in Canada. It is totally funded, so the kids, the students, do not have to pay a dime in order to participate, which is amazing. I myself was a participant in 2014. It laid the groundwork for so much of my professional career. It's a fantastic, fantastic program. I have been very lucky to write an original song each year for the last 4 years, so since 2020, and this is 2024. And they didn't have one in 2023. So 2020, 2021, 22, didn't have one in 23. Yes, so this is my 4th year doing it. This is the most complicated one that I've written for this program. The kids that I'm working with a very small group of 4 this year, and there's 4 composers, and they all have groups of different sizes. And my group is phenomenal, so I wrote this really complicated piece for them. This year the theme is Hansel and Gretel, so we each had to musicalize in our own way a moment from the story of Hansel and Gretel. Our group decided to musicalize the moment where they meet the witch. And Hansel and Gretel are trying to decide whether to go into the witch's gingerbread house. Gretel is like, no. Dad would say, don't go in there. Hansel is like, listen, I'm hungry. She's got candy. I'm going. And so Hansel and Gretel have this fight. They argue about what their dad would say. And then the witch sings a song inviting them in. In the end, Hansel chooses to go in. Gretel chooses to leave. And they're split up. And it's kind of the Act 1 finale moment if we were to write the full show. Matt Murray, the Canadian playwriting legend Matt Murray, wrote the scene that goes into this song. So it was a huge honor to get to collaborate with him. And the participants themselves contributed a lot of these lyrics as well. So it's a fantastic group. All of them incredibly talented singers and incredibly intelligent artists. It's set in the woods, so I'm doing a little bit of like a cheeky homage to Into the Woods here. We've got this like 12/8 time signature and these like crunchy chords. Again, you can listen to the whole song at the link in the description. But basically, Hansel and Gretel both kind of summon the memory of their father, and that summoned memory of their father says what they think he would say. So for Hansel thinks his dad would say, "You're so brave and strong," and so he's singing with these big major chords. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum. Gretel thinks that her father would say, you know, "You're very smart and you're very kind, but you need to be careful." And so Gretel sings, or the father sings when Gretel conjures him. The father sings the same kind of rhythm, but in a minor key. So we have these two versions of the father, and they're both hearing different things from their dad. And what is the truth? What did he actually say? Who knows? They each have their own interpretation. Then they both get to sing the chorus, which I tried to make a little bit more catchy, especially because the dad's thing was very Into the Woods. Again, it's very much an homage to Into the Woods. This like pentatonic, speech-like melodies. So I tried to make the chorus a little bit catchier. And he goes, Dad would never leave food on the table. Dad knows the German economy's never stable. Dad would want us to eat when we're able. So open your mouth and start to chew. 'Cause that's what our dad would do. Right, that's what our dad would do. And then Gretel sings her own version of that chorus where she says, Dad would say it's a little suspicious finding a house in the wood that looks this delicious. And besides, gingerbread isn't nutritious. Let's leave it and stick to our pigeon stew, because that's what our dad would do. So they both have different ideas of what their dad would do. I think that's really interesting, playing on like different memories of things and how memory is fallible. I think that's a really cool thing to explore in any sort of storytelling. And here, I also want to point out one cool little thing. We've got this interval here. This is the chord on chew, which has this interval, which is a minor 17th or 16th. It's basically that. If I bring this note up the octave, it's like super clashy and crunchy. The only reason that it works is because this harmonic line is very natural. Right? That's very natural. And this top harmonic line is very natural. So together, even though they end in this really kind of crunchy, nasty place, because we're getting there in a way that feels very natural, it makes sense to the ear. And so that's so important, I think, is that element of linear harmony, where you're not just writing stacked chords that sound good with the notes that you're playing at the same time, but the way that the chords are connected to the chords that come before and after is also so important in making harmony listenable. And it opens up these worlds of possibilities where you can put these weird chords in your songs because you're getting there in a way that feels natural and helps the ear to understand what's happening in that really weird chord. I think that's super important. Then the witch shows up, and the witch has her own little song called Poor Little Children. Also, that little theme shows up all over the place. It's in the chord that gets played when the witch appears. It's just those four notes from the motif, and then she sings that motif, Poor Little Children. Shivering and small, as thin as a wafer. It's not a coincidence that I was saying that they are as thin as a wafer. They could have been as thin as a sheet of paper, but no, they're as thin as a wafer because the witch is seeing them as something that is edible. Yeah, she's always comparing them to something that's edible because she wants to eat them. I can hardly see you at all. Poor little babies. So you can hear the Into the Woods in this like really clashy harmony for the witch. Out in the storm. Just come inside, dears. I can make you toasty and warm. That's another example of writing linear harmony rather than like stacked harmony. Here, this chord is a really nasty, ugly chord, but each note leads really nicely into the next chord. This G flat leads really nicely to that F, and then this D flat leads really nicely to that E flat, and that F leads really nicely to this G flat, and that A natural leads really nicely to that B flat. So together, it works, even though the chords themselves are super crunchy. Then we get this like jazzy section where the witch is like, I've helped kids like you before. Many a little skinny thing has come through my door. Shout out the witch's motif again in that bass line. I've given them oodles and oodles of sugary goodness to eat. They came out plump and sweet. Get it? Because they're plump and sweet, so she wants to eat them. Poor little sweet cakes. I think that's important too. Sweet cakes is something that one might call a child. Oh, sweet cakes. But it's also something you eat. Say yes. Don't be rude. As you can see, I have much too much food. And I'm in a generous mood. That chord there is just the witch's siren song motif. Again, just those 4 notes. And then everybody overlaps. So the image of Dad comes up and starts talking to them. Hansel and Gretel start arguing back and forth. Dad would. And the witch sings over top of them in her motif. Cinnamon rolls and donut holes, chocolate chips and taffy strips. Think of all these amazing candies you will get to eat if you come inside with me, my precious children. And it all culminates in this. Hansel goes, open your mouth and start to chew. Gretel goes, let's leave it and stick to our pigeon stew. 'Cause that's what our dad would do. No, that's what our dad would do. No, Dad would say, don't go in there. Fine, then starve, see if I care. This is what my dad would do. And then I get in the accompaniment. So that's the Hansel, you're brave, Hansel, you're kind theme. The same thing that that the father sang. And here's the witch's motif. So all of these little musical ideas that I've been introducing throughout, I'm bringing together to a head at the very, very end. Finally, this chord, you know it, you love it. It's the witch's chord. It's that motif again. Ba-dum. Come inside, my dear. And then ba-ba-ba-bum. And that's how we end. So it's this big, long song, super complicated, lots of moving parts, 2 sections that are entirely different, and these 4 teenagers in high school are nailing it. So I'm super excited to showcase this tomorrow at the Toronto Centre for the Arts, aka the Meridian Arts Centre in Toronto, in North York. And I also am music directing another song, which is not an original song. It's What Is This Feeling from Wicked, but we're doing a version where instead of just 2 people, it's 4 people, and all 4 of those kids are also superstars. So it's an amazing group, and I'm super excited to be working with them. I really love working with young professionals and just seeing how amazing they can be. I'm really stunned, and I wrote this really super complicated thing for them, and they are not even phased. They are taking it in stride like true professionals. So never underestimate the high schoolers that you know, because high schoolers are brilliant. Anyways, that has been a nice long update video. I'm sorry it's so long. Thank you for watching the whole thing. If you have watched the whole thing, I really appreciate your support. Let me know any feedback you have about these songs. I'm really interested to learn how my writing is hitting the ears of an audience. Hopefully you didn't hear that microphone slap. And yeah, subscribe to the channel. Sign up for my mailing list if you want updates on Tommy Rhodes. Hopefully we're going to get a production going very soon. I really want to see this show on stage. Mailing list link in the description. Patreon link in the description. Subscription link in the description. That is all. I will see you next week. Peace out.